Good afternoon. Hope you're having a great week. It's Monday, right? Yeah, let's double check. Monday, August 18th, 1:32 p.m. Central Daylight Time, local time here in Terrell, Texas. I am at the TA truck stop in Terrell, Texas off of Interstate 20. The last video, I arrived here in Terrell, and I recorded myself finding a parking spot, and it's not like a really tight parking lot, but it is pretty tight, and there's a lot of creative parking. So I didn't like the spot that I was in because the risk of me getting hit by somebody was really high, because most people out here can't back worth a damn. So I used personal conveyance to relocate up to the front row where it's basically straight back parking. You can straight back pretty much every spot up here. So it makes it a lot safer. And so I got here at somewhere around 4 a.m. after delivering that load of tires from Lawton, Oklahoma to Arlington. And I managed to get to sleep by somewhere around 5 a.m. And then I woke up to a load alert at, I think, 11 a.m. this morning. And it was one of the loads I was looking for. I was looking for 3 specific loads. But, we'll see whatever else pops up. I'll consider anything. But the 3 specific loads I was looking for was the Maddox account coming out of Terrell, Texas, right here, heading up into the Pacific Northwest, the Seattle-Portland area. Sorry, there's some bobtail looking confused. I don't know what in the hell they're doing. But they just pulled up like they were going to back into the spot next to me, which there's somebody parked there. And then they turned their wheel all the way to the left and all the way to the right, and then they started rotating it back another way, and they just, I don't know what in the hell they were doing, and then they just drove off. Like, maybe there was somebody in front of them that was moving back and forth, and they were trying to figure out how to drive around them. I don't know. I can't see around that way. But the Maddox load coming out of Terrell here. The other one I was looking at is that I was looking to get was a Saya load out of Grand Prairie, Texas, which is, all of these places are in the Dallas metro. And then the other one I was thinking of was a rheem ruud load coming out of Lewisville, Texas, the north side of Dallas. And I got a load alert for a Lewisville load. It's the Lewisville, the LTL loads for the rheem ruud account. Those are multi-stop loads. And they pay really well. I forget what this load's paying, something like $3.80 a mile or something like that on the full rate. So what I'm making on this load is all right. Let me pull this up. It's I'll read off the numbers to you. I'm not going to show you because I don't want to have to block out all the personal information. So the line haul is $6,750. And then $50 for the first stop off, and then $75 for the second stop off. So you add that together, and that's $6,875 total for line haul. I don't know what my percentage cut is on the stop pay. I don't know if I get 100% of that or 65%. We're going to assume that it just goes into line haul, and I get 65% of it. So that's $6,875 line haul. And then $871.18 fuel surcharge. That's 43 cents per mile at 2,026 miles. It's 2,026 miles according to the freight bill. So the way that breaks down, the math on that is I get 65% of the line haul, 100% of the fuel surcharge, and that totals out. Well, the total amount the load is paying, let me flip back over here, is $7,746.18. That's the full rate. Some people refer to that as their gross. That is not your gross. That's like saying that, you're a real estate agent and you sold a house for $1 million and you got a 4%, well, a 2% commission on that. So you got a pretty nice commission. So that would be what would be a 2% commission on $1 million? Would that be 20 grand? I think it's 20,000. Correct me if I'm wrong. But you got a really nice commission, 20 grand, 2% on $1 million home sale. But could you imagine somebody going around telling people that they made $1 million gross this week because they sold a house for $1 million? That $1 million never crossed, like, you never received, like, that $1 million never went into your bank account. Like, $20,000 went into your bank account. So your gross is the total amount that you receive. Your net is what you receive after whatever, taxes or whatever. But a lot of people, a lot of YouTube truckers refer to the total amount the load pays as their gross. If it never touches your bank account, if you never receive that money, that's not your gross. That's fantasy land. That's you lying to make yourself look better. But anyway, what I make gross on that, the percentage that I get after all the percentage cuts, I get $5,339.93, which comes out to $2.63 a mile, according to the mileage on the freight bill, the 2,026 miles. So that's what I'm making on the load. The load picks up on Thursday, the 21st, which isn't too bad. I was hoping that I wouldn't book a load that was not picking up for like a week, and then I would have a dilemma of, should I drive home and sit at the house? Like, what should I do while I wait on this load? But this load is close enough that it's not a question. I should just stay here and wait for the load. So let's make sure what page I'm on. All right, let's flip over to... I still have a whole bunch of blur effects, so I'm not going to bother changing them. So this is set up for the load board. But, so this is the load. So it picks up in... Whoa, that's Albuquerque. That's not Dallas. It picks up in Lewisville, Texas, north side of Dallas, at a rheem distribution center. I just picked up a load out of here like a couple months ago. It's a pain in the butt to get in and out of this place. But only because of some trucking company that they're working with is... let's not talk about them. I talked about them in a previous video, and they were a nightmare to deal with. And there were a ton of them at the location. But a second here. I am currently in Terrell, Texas, which is I'm right over here in Terrell, Texas. I'm at this TA truck stop right here. So what I'm planning on doing is I'm going to leave the TA truck stop, drive I-20 into Terrell. I'll hop onto Highway 80, take Highway 80 to 635, and then 635 all the way around to 35 East, 35 East up to the rheem distribution center, pick up the load at rheem, drive that up 35 to Denton. In Denton, take 380, Highway 380 over to Decatur, and then 287, Highway 287, I'm going to take that all the way to Amarillo. And then I-40 in Amarillo, going to take that all the way to Kingman, Arizona. And then in Kingman, I'm going to hop on Highway 93, take that into Vegas. There's a short, tiny little interstate in Vegas that you drive through Vegas on. And then I'm going to hop on Highway 95 and take Highway 95 all the way across Nevada up to Reno. Is this the route that I'm going to take? Yeah, this is the route that I'm going to take. Once I get up into the Fernley, Nevada area, Fernley, Fallon, Nevada. There's a couple of different routes that I could take, and I think this is the route that I want to take. I'm just going to drive all the way into Fallon and then cut across on Highway 50 to Fernley. I think it's a mile or two longer than some other possible routes, but it's less. It's a like more direct route. Let's put it that way. I always choose more direct routes and bigger roads, wider roads, more lanes, over shortcuts that only save me a couple of miles. So this is a lot of bidirect. This is almost all highway driving. Uh, so that gets me to Reno, and I have my first delivery in Reno Monday morning. And then I have a second delivery in Redding, California, which is Northern California by the Oregon border. And I debated on what route to take to get from Reno to Redding. I really was wanting to go Interstate 80 into Sacramento and then take I-5 up to Redding, because I do not want to take highways across the Sierra Nevada mountains. But I've looked at the route several times. I still haven't seen a semi truck driving this route, but I know that they drive this route. I have driven this route before, like 20 years ago. I did cut across on this route, and I remember it being like a sketchy bidirectional road. But it's 100 miles further if I take I-80 to I-5. And I've looked at this route several times, and I've done some Google searches, and I can't find any. I didn't find any truckers talking about taking this route, but I saw a lot of RVers, the RV community, talking about this route, and they were talking about truck drivers take this route all the time and stuff like that. I haven't noticed any kind of restrictions on the road, so I'm just going to take this route. It's the only way that I can make the delivery appointment. I'm scheduled to deliver at 6 a.m. in Reno, and then noon in Redding. So if it takes them 2 hours to unload me, then I have from 8 a.m. to noon to get to Redding. That's 4 hours, and it's 200 miles on this route. It's 300 miles if I go through Sacramento. That's a minimum of 5 hours. It would take me 5 to 6 hours. So I wouldn't make the noon appointment. I would get there probably like 2 o'clock in the afternoon if I went through Sacramento. And that's if there weren't any major delays in Sacramento with traffic. So, yeah, I'm just going to take this route so that I can make the appointment. I am going to get to bypass Sacramento, but I'm going to have to deal with bidirectional roads to do it. Make that delivery in Redding, California, to a place that looks pretty easy to get to. I don't know if they've got a dock around here somewhere. They're using like all of the outside area for storage. They've just got crap piled everywhere. And like I have no idea where a dock might possibly be. If they do have a dock around here, like there's not even enough room for a truck to back to the building if there is a dock somewhere. I'm not seeing anywhere where there's enough room for a truck to back to the building. So I'm guessing that they're just going to have me like park somewhere in the parking lot, and they're just going to like pallet jack the stuff to the back and use a forklift to take it out of the back. I don't think they have a dock. Because yeah, I'm just not seeing anywhere where there might possibly be a dock. On the east side of the building right here, there's no way there's a dock anywhere on this side of the building. Nowhere on the south side of the building. Nowhere on the north side of the building. The west side of the building is the only place that could potentially have a dock, and it would be right here. But there is not enough room to back a truck in there. It is from the side of the building to right here. That's 65 feet. Right at 65 feet from the side of the building to the crap that they have setting out here. My tractor and trailer together is somewhere around 70 to 72 feet. So, like, if they expect me to back in, if there is a dock right here that they're expecting me to back into, I'm going to be pissed. Because it is going to be nearly impossible for me to back into it, and I would have to jackknife into it. I couldn't have my truck in front of the trailer. My truck would have to be at a 90-degree angle whenever I finished backing in, which is really hard to, like, plan that back to where you just finish right there like that. Like, it's really, really difficult. So I'm going to be quite pissed off if that is what they expect me to do. Which, you know what, let me pause this and I'm going to check the Google reviews. Alright, it does appear that spot is the dock, because here's a Google review I found. I'll read it for the people who are not watching, who are just listening. This is the Google review. This is only for delivery drivers. The people are very friendly and helpful, but the dock is very difficult to get into. There are pallets everywhere. At least there was the day I went. That made it almost impossible to back into the dock. I had to leave my cab at a 45 angle in order to get the trailer straight. Day cabs have no problem, but if you have a sleeper, it's not fun. Hopefully it's better for the next driver. So yeah, that answers the question. This is the dock right here. I'm like 90% certain this is the dock, and it is going to be nearly impossible to back into. Because they have crap parked. They're using the area you're supposed to have to back in here. They're using it as storage. I hate it when businesses do this crap. If they didn't have all this crap here in front of the dock, it wouldn't be very difficult to back into this thing. It would still be tight. Even if they didn't have all this stuff in front of the dock, it would still be tight. But with all this crap that they have parked in there, it's, oh my goodness. I'm going to let them know. When they tell me to back in there, I'm going to tell them like how ridiculous it is. I can't stand businesses that do this crap. I will definitely leave a very negative review. This is one of the problems with doing these rheem ruud loads. You're delivering to these small businesses, and a lot of them don't have like proper dock sizes and stuff like that. Like there was one that I delivered to. There are loads. I've booked these rheem loads before, and like I've had them just cancel the load off of me after I looked at the places I'm delivering, because they're in like residential areas and crap like that. There was a place I delivered to here in Texas. I forget where it was at, and their dock was like down at an angle, like you backed into the warehouse and it went down a really steep grade, and it was so steep of a grade that the trailer had those air wings underneath it. The air wings had to bend up. It damaged the air wings. It scratched them up really bad. It bent them up really bad. My landing gear was dragging on the ground backing into the dock. And I left a nasty review on there talking about how this dock is not designed for 53-foot trailers. And the owner replied and was like, "We've had, you know how these idiots are. We've been doing this for 40 years and never had a problem, never had a complaint. You're the first one that's ever had an issue with this." That was the owner's response, was that 53-foot trailers have been delivering there for 1,000 years. Like, okay, so I just have this mystery 53-foot trailer. I had my tandem slid all the way forward. So for drivers that are sitting there thinking, oh well, maybe you had your tandems all the way back, and that's going to make it worse whenever you're backing down a steep, slant like that. No, I had the tandems all the way forward on the trailer. The landing gear was dragging. The air wings got screwed up. It was a pain in the butt. And the owner did, in his reply, he did say that he told the broker not to send trailers that have those air wing things on them. But I was like, it's not just the air wings. My landing gear was dragging on the ground. And there were marks. There were big, gashes in the concrete from where everybody's landing gear was dragging on the ground. It wasn't just a me problem. But I hate delivering to businesses like this. So the business in Reno looks fine. This one is going to be a pain in the ass. It's just going to take forever for me to get into that spot because you basically have to do a perfect setup, and then you have to back in to where it slams in. You can't maneuver. If you're finishing at a 90-degree angle, then you don't have any room to maneuver. So you have to do a perfect setup and then just bam, right there. It's going to be time consuming to get backed in there. Just going to take a really long time. And then those are my 2 deliveries for Monday. And then Tuesday, I have a delivery in Medford, Oregon. And what time is the delivery scheduled for this? Because that's a decent drive. Let me see what the mileage is here. 1832, and the final mileage is 1996. So it's about 170 miles. It's about a 3-hour drive. So after I make that delivery, I think I should have enough time left to be able to drive all the way up to Medford. So yeah, that's not going to be a problem. So after I make that delivery in Redding, then I'll go ahead and drive up to Medford. There's a TA Petro and a Pilot Flying J in Medford. So I will, the TA Petro is right here. I'm probably going to go to this TA Petro and park there and hang out and wait for the delivery. Deliver that load, and then I'm probably going to go back to the TA Petro after I deliver that load and wait on my next load if I don't have one booked by then. I do have my load alert set up where I'm looking for a load coming out of 300-mile radius around Medford. Most likely what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to end up driving up to Stanton, which I think is in Salem, Oregon. Is it Staten I'm thinking of? Not Stanton? I thought it was Stanton. Anywhere. I can't remember exactly where it's at. It might be Staten. But there's some place just south of Portland, somewhere in between Portland and Salem, that there's a Landstar agent that's constantly posting loads, but they're like massive stop loads. They are like 40 stop loads, but they pay pretty well. So because of how bad the freight market is over on the west, well, in the Pacific Northwest, what I'll probably end up doing is taking one of those massive loads just so that I can, get a good load back to the east. So that would be like a $5,000 load to get me up to the Seattle-Portland area, and then another $5,000 load to get me back to the central part of the country. So it'd be back-to-back $5,000 loads, which will be pretty nice. And what about the stops? Well, I spent the last 2 hours. So I booked the load at about 11 a.m. And then I spent a couple of hours trying to figure out what I was going to do to get there, the route that I was going to take, and where I was going to fuel. And I'm going to be driving through California, and my California carb permit is expired. So I have to get a new California carb permit before I can go into California. So I figured out the fuel route. I'm switching back to TA Petro. TA Petro is consistently cheaper along the route. And if it was just like 2 cents a gallon, then I would still go with Pilot Flying J. But there are some places where it's a significant price difference, 7 to 10 cents a gallon. I'm not going to pay 7 to 10 cents a gallon extra for fuel just because they have a better reward program. I can use the money that I save to, spend it on real stuff rather than, get some other, their little point system. So we're switching back to TA Petro. I put 60 gallons in when I got here to get a shower. So before I leave here on Thursday to go pick the load up, I'm going to take a shower. I'll use that shower credit. And I'm going to top off fuel here. Now, the fuel prices I'm about to talk about, they are raw fuel prices. So when I'm looking at fuel costs, I look at raw fuel cost, which is the price after my discount. So let's say the fuel price is $4.06 a gallon. At the pump, the pump price is $4.06 a gallon. Well, you get a 6 cent a gallon discount if you use cash or a fuel card. So that brings it down to 4 cents a gallon. Well, then let's say that I'm getting $1 a gallon discount. Well, that takes it from $4 a gallon down to $3 a gallon. And then let's say that the fuel tax is $1 a gallon. So that takes it from $3 a gallon down to $2 a gallon. That is the price that I look at when I'm determining where to buy fuel. I look at that $2 a gallon price. After all of the discounts, after, not omitting fuel tax, not taking fuel tax into consideration, after all of that, that's the price I look at. Why? Most people look at the price after just discount, and they look at the price plus fuel tax. That is not what you should be doing as an owner-operator, because our fuel tax is based off of miles driven in each state, not off of how much you pay at the pump. Paying at the pump is just prepaying fuel tax. So if you're making your decision on where to buy fuel based off of the price of fuel plus fuel tax, you're probably not getting like the best prices. And I could do a whole video explaining that, and I've explained it in several videos. But anyway, I say all that just to say that all of the fuel prices that I talk about here are the raw fuel price that are not including fuel tax, and it's after discount. So in the cheapest place that I can get fuel anywhere that I've seen along this route is here in Dallas. It's at the TA on Bonneview off of I-20, which is $2.43 a gallon. The TA that I'm parked at right now is $2.44 a gallon. So I'm not going to drive an extra 10 or 15 miles just so that I can get 1 penny a gallon cheaper at the TA in Bonneview. When I leave, I'm going to top off fuel here for $2.44 a gallon. Then I'm going to top off fuel in Amarillo at $2.48 a gallon. And then I'm going to top off fuel just south of Vegas. This stretch of road in between Kingman, Arizona and Vegas, there's a TA Petro that has fuel for $2.68 a gallon. And that is my last fuel stop that I have planned. Once I get up into Oregon, the cheapest fuel is about $3.04 a gallon. That's the raw fuel price, not including fuel tax, after discount. So it gets, pricier and pricier as I go west. So that's the plan. And what am I doing about the carb, the permit? The only places that I can find, like whenever you search for Loves or Pilot Flying J or TA Petro, The only places that I can find from the majors that do the carb permits are almost all in Arizona and California. So most of them are around Phoenix. But I found a Love's truck stop just outside of Kingman, Arizona. This Love's right here. And I called them, and they do carb permits. $105. TA Petro charges $75. Love's charges $105. It's crazy that they charge that much. It's $50 for a DOT inspection, and a DOT inspection is much more involved than this little permit test. Like, California charges me, I forget how much for the actual permit, and then the mechanic is charging me $105 for the test. So this California carb permit is the most expensive permit that I have by far that I can think of. I'm pretty sure it's the most expensive permit, because with the test cost and what California charges, it's just taxes. This is just a new form of taxation that California has come up with, and it's going to cost me a total of somewhere like $150 for this one single permit for California, from the mechanic cost and the California, all their fees and everything that they charge. But that's the plan. Top off fuel right here when I leave. Top off fuel in Amarillo. Top off fuel just south of Vegas. And then I'll figure it out after I deliver the load on what I'm going to do with fuel after that. But we're switching back to TA Petro because Pilot Flying J is just not really competitive at the moment. And Love's is nowhere close to competitive. I'm about to remove Love's from my search results because they're so crazy on their prices. Last year, or it might have been the year before that, Love's was still not the best, but they were close. They were close enough that if you wanted to spend an extra 5 or 10 cents a gallon because you just really love Love's, then you could have used Love's on Landstar's fuel card. But now it doesn't make any sense to use Love's. They're just so incredibly expensive. But that's the plan. That's the route. And I'll be making the delivery in Reno on Monday, Reading on Monday, and then Medford on Tuesday. And then hopefully I find another load pretty quick. I'm hoping to get a load out of just south of Portland, one of those 40 stop loads. What would be even better would be like a Google load or something, anything that's just like a normal load that doesn't have any extra stops on it, that's not driver unload and all the rest of that crap. I'm not wanting to do a driver unload 40 stop load, but that's the expectation I'm going with, is that's the load that I'm going to book, is one of those driver unload 40 stop loads. But hopefully I find something else. So that's what's going on with me. I've spent the last couple of hours trip planning this, figuring out everything that I'm going to do. I need to double check the times. I think it's a preloaded trailer in Louisville, and my pickup window is 8 a.m. until midnight on Thursday. So what I'll probably do is I will, because I'm going to have plenty of time to get the load to Reno. It's I think it's 1,630 miles to Reno. Let's see real quick. And there's a Petro truck stop over here. This Petro is where I plan on waiting for the delivery appointment on Monday. So I'll probably get there Saturday or Sunday. It'll probably be Sunday that I'll get here. And I'm just going to hang out at the Petro and wait for the delivery appointment. So this is 1,622 miles. So that is basically 2 drive shifts would be about 1,300 miles. We'll be conservative and say 1,200 miles. Because I do have about a 50-mile drive to pick the load up. 50 to 60-mile drive, I think. I think it's about a 50, 60-mile drive. Let's see here. That's 52 miles straight line. So yeah, it's probably be about 60 miles, I would guess. So yeah, we'll say 1,200 miles through the first drive shift, the first 2 drive shifts, and that leaves me with 420 miles in the third drive shift to get there. So if I pick it up, let's say that I'm driving by 10 a.m. We'll say noon. We'll say noon on Thursday is when I start my first drive shift. So that's noon until midnight would be my first drive shift. And then I can start driving again at 10 a.m. on Friday. And I go until 10 p.m. And then I start driving again at 8 a.m. So 8 a.m. Saturday morning is when I would start driving my... let's see how far it is to this Love's. Yeah. It's like 1,100 miles to the Love's. So I'm going to get to the Love's close to the end of my second drive shift. So I might actually just camp out at the Love's, maybe. What I'll probably do is I'll just go ahead and drive up to the TA Petro that I'm going to be topping off fuel at. Where is it at? Where's it at? Last Stop Travel Center. That's not a TA Petro. That's a Pilot. There it is, a TA Express. Ooh, they have very little parking. But there's probably not a lot of truck traffic. So they will probably have a spot available. Del Taco and a Carl's Jr. I have tons of food in the truck, but that sounds good. So I'll probably, at the end of my second drive shift, I'll stop at that Love's and get the permit thing done. And then I'll probably go ahead and leave that Love's and drive up to the TA Express there, top off fuel, and take my 10-hour break. So that would be... I would start driving again from that TA at about 8 a.m. Saturday morning. Is that right? I think that's right. So I would be driving across Nevada on Saturday. So Saturday evening is when I would be getting to the Petro here in Reno. So I'll probably be able to take a 34 before I deliver Monday morning. And what I'll probably do is check with... I'm trying to remember. I think the LTL agency contacted me on the last load and told me when the trailer was ready. I can't remember. I know that Dawn with the Maddox account, when the trailer's ready, she calls you and tells you, hey, the trailer's ready now if you want to pick it up. And I'm trying to remember. Let me check my email. Let me pause this and see if LTL emailed me when the trailer was ready. No, the only communication I ever got from them was just the initial load information. So I might contact them Wednesday afternoon and ask them if the trailer's going to be ready early. Because I would actually love to get in there in the middle of the night. I'm thinking about just waiting until late at night to pick it up. I don't know. No, I'm probably not going to do that. I want as much time on the load as I can because I'm having to get that permit done en route. And if their mechanic calls out sick and I have to wait an extra day to get it done, I want the extra time in case stuff happens. I don't want to have to reschedule things because you start rescheduling stuff and they might start complaining and want to lower the price they're paying for the load, and I just don't want to deal with that crap. So I'm going to pick it up as early as possible. So I'll be over there to pick it up probably, right around 8 a.m. Thursday morning. But I'll probably call and verify when the trailer's going to be ready on Wednesday. Because I don't want to roll over there at 8 a.m. and then find out, oh yeah, the trailer, they just started loading it at 8 a.m. That's not when it's ready. That's when they start loading it. Because that's the kind of miscommunication you get with these brokers, is they're really bad at keeping you informed as to what's going on. Most of them are. Some of them are really good. But that's what's going on with me. And I've just got a couple of days to set here. It's Monday, and I'm not going to be leaving this spot until Thursday morning. And Thursday morning, I'll drive over to Rheem, Ruud, and pick the load up. I'm going to try to beat morning traffic. So they're saying that the trailer is going to be ready sometime between 8 a.m. and midnight Thursday. I'm going to check with them and see if it's possible that it's going to be ready earlier than that. I would love to get over there at 3 o'clock in the morning. I know that they're open 24/7. But I would love to get over there at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning Thursday morning and get in and out of the Dallas area before traffic gets bad. That would be pretty sweet. But that's what's going on with me. We got that load booked, and we've got a plan. We got a plan to get the carb permit. Got a plan for fuel route. Got a plan for the route we're taking. And if anybody has any idea what the road is like between Reno, Nevada and Redding, California on this Highway 395 and State Road 44. I'm curious as to hear what people have to say. If you've driven this route recently, within the last 5 years, I have driven this route before, but it was 20 years ago. And I can't remember the exact route that I took. I know that I've gone 395 north on out of Reno, but I think that I actually was headed to Portland. Oh my goodness, this is I'm trying to zoom out and it keeps zooming in while I'm zooming out, which is going to give me epilepsy or something. But I've cut across here going to Portland from Reno 20 years ago. And I remember I was driving for Swift at the time, and there's a lot of logging trucks that would drive this route. And I remember a logging truck that was empty flew around me on this bidirectional road in the middle of the night. There's nobody around. This logging truck flew around me, cut me off, slammed on their brakes in front of me, and like just came to a stop in front of me. We came to a complete stop in the road. I tried to get out and pass them, but they were, doing those race car maneuvers where they just, if, they were blocking me. And they took me to a complete stop as we were starting to go up a hill, and then they took off. After they took me to a complete stop. That's the kind of crazy crap that you deal with out here over the road. Like, I have no idea why they did that. We didn't have any interaction. Like, it wasn't like they were behind me for 50 miles. No, they just like caught up to me, and once they caught up to me, they passed me, cut me off, and then took me to a complete stop at the bottom of a hill. Extremely aggressive. I have no idea what that was about. My guess is that it had something to do with Swift. Like, they thought that they were somehow going to like get back at Swift for some perceived wrong that they have with Swift. Maybe they don't like the company Swift, and they thought that like screwing me over would get, Swift back or something. I don't know. People have mental issues. There's a lot of people with mental health problems in the world. But that's what I remember driving that route. Is like 20 years ago driving that route, somebody, some logging truck did that to me. Logging trucks are near the bottom of truck drivers, though. Logging trucks, like grain haulers, rock haulers, and dump truck drivers. I don't even really consider dump truck drivers to be truck drivers. And container drivers. Like, those are some of the worst truck drivers out there, are like container drivers, logging drivers, and like grain haulers. But all of these Amazon Prime fly-by-night companies are giving them a run for their money. Now, the scariest truck drivers to run across are typically the ones pulling Amazon Prime trailers. So that's what's going on with me. I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do for the next 3 or so days. I think I'm going to heat something up to eat, and I might install. Let me switch over to where I can see the video. I'm only using a single screen right now, so I'm having to flip between stuff. I might install this inverter. And once I install the inverter, I can try to see if it will power the air conditioner. If it will power the air conditioner, then I can run the APU to run the air conditioner. Now, the APU doesn't put out enough power to fully power the air conditioner, but it puts out enough power that, like, what I could do is I could run the APU for like 2 or 3 hours, and then once the battery voltage got, low, then I could start the truck up and let it charge the batteries back up for a couple hours, and then I could switch back over to the APU. So while I was running the air conditioner, I would just be switching back and forth between the truck and the APU, because the APU only puts out about 700 watts of power, and my air conditioners and everything in here use somewhere in the area of probably about 150 watts. And then the air conditioner is an inverter air conditioner where it can use different wattage. It can, vary. If it's running at like full blast, it's using 1500 watts. But if it's just like maintaining temperature, then it can get down to only using like 700 or 800 watts. So I would be in a deficit of a couple hundred watts, and it could probably go 2 or 3 hours at a 200 watt deficit. It might even be able to go longer than that. From a full charge, it might be able to go 8 hours at a 200 watt deficit. 8 to 10 hours. Because whenever I park for the night, if I don't have to run the air conditioner or anything, and if I just park for the night, even with the fan on, and the fan uses like 150 watts of power, I can go through a full 10-hour break without the APU kicking on to charge the batteries. So yeah, I don't know. This is making me want to try it out, because I might actually be able to run quite a while on just the APU and save a ton of money on fuel costs. So yeah, this is making me want to install this thing. It should be a really simple install. I'm not sure what the battery connections are like on the inverter that's installed right now, but if they're just little connectors like they're supposed to be, then all I've got to do is just unscrew the old connectors and screw them onto this. That's basically all there is to it. Like, it's a very simplistic device. But actually, yeah, I'm really excited now. I'm going to do that. Like, once I end the video, I'm going to go ahead and install this. And this is going to open up a lot of options for me, because my current inverter is just a regular inverter, and my little induction cooktop will not run off of it. And that's something I looked up on the induction cooktops, and they're very particular about the power that they have, or the power that they'll work off of. So getting this pure sine wave inverter should allow me to use the induction cooktop. And this is only a 2,000 watt inverter. The currently installed inverter is 2,500 watts. But the currently installed inverter is only putting out 900 watts. So this should give me like a lot more. Even though it's rated for less wattage, I have no idea why my current inverter, which is listed for 2,500 watts, is only outputting 900 watts. I'm pretty sure that I've gone and I've looked up the specs on my current Cobra 2500 inverter, and it's rated for 2500 continuous watts. It's not just 2500 peak, I'm pretty sure. But I know for a fact this one is rated for 2000 watts continuous, and I forget what the peak power is on it. It's like 3000 watts or 4000 watts peak power. So anyway, yeah, I'm starting to think about installing this, and I'm getting really excited about it. So I'm going to end the video there. That's what's going on with me. We got a load booked, which is really awesome, because I have not gotten another load alert. Like, that is the only load alert that I got today, and it was one of the loads I was looking for, and I booked it, and we're good to go. This is awesome. We're getting $5,000. I need that money. Like, all that extra time that I sat at home, it cost me quite a bit of money. So we made $500 gross to the truck driving down here, which was basically just covering the fuel cost. And then we're going to get paid $5,400, $5,339.93. $5,300. We're going to get paid $5,300 to take this load up to Medford, Oregon. And then hopefully I can get like an $8,000-$9,000 load, one of those 40 stop loads, headed back to the central part of the country, and we're going to be set. If we can do all that, and we're gonna be good to go. And then the world is our oyster. We'll look for another load and see what's going on and figure things out as we go. But I need to figure out all the cabling on this. This has a connector for a little control box that you can install somewhere, where you can turn the power on and off and monitor the voltage that it's using and all that stuff. That's pretty cool, because where it's installed at, I can't see the indicators on it down there. I would like to be able to see the indicators as to what the output voltage is and the wattage that's being used and all that stuff. So this is going to be really nice. But anyway, I'm really excited now. I'm going to go ahead and install this. And let me switch this back over to just me. So I hope you're having a great week. I hope things are working out well for you. And yeah, that's what's going on for me. We've got a plan. Looks like it's going to be a pretty easy delivery. The only pain in the butt that it looks like that I'm going to have on the delivery is the dock in the Reno. Not the Reno. Is it the Redding? Yeah, I think it's the place that I'm delivering to in Redding. looked like it was going to be a pain in the butt. Was it Reading or Medford? Let's go back and look. I think it's this place in Reading. Yeah, it's this place in Reading, this Pace Supply, and it has a lot of negative reviews. Most of the negative reviews are people talking about how this place is a ripoff, where their prices are 2 to 3 times Home Depot and Lowe's. Like they're just charging like 2 to 3 times what Home Depot and Lowe's charges for parts. So they're ridiculously overpriced, and it looks like they're just trying to maximize profits because their facility is inadequate. So they went really cheap on their facility. They're overcharging for parts. They're most likely overcharging for labor. So yeah, this is just like greed on another level right here. Pace Supply. But I've got a fly in the truck. All right, well, we have a new mission. Whenever I see a fly in the truck, like I can't stand flies, and I'll just sit here and chase this fly until I kill it. Alright, so I'm going to install this, I'm going to kill the fly, and I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do for food. Oh my goodness. Let me show you something. I brought a new snack. It's something I've ordered in the past, but it's going to be like, whenever I find something I really like in the truck, I'll order it every time to bring with me in the truck. These El Monte burritos, let me flip this over so I can see what you're seeing here. These little El Monte burritos, I bought them at Sam's Club. It comes in a big box of 3 packages of these things, and I take them out of the box to save space, but this little, this is what I usually use to heat stuff up with. You can cook things with this, but it's this little lunch box, and inside of it, it has a like warming plate that'll get things up to about 170 degrees Fahrenheit, which is hot enough to cook them. It uses very little power. It'll run off of like a lighter outlet. If you have, which I'm not going to break it out and show you, but I have one. I have a little inverter that plugs into just like a cigarette lighter outlet. And that little heating thing will run off of that because it uses so little power. It uses like 70 or 80 watts of power. But those burritos, I bought some of those at a truck stop. And I was like, this worked out really well. So then I started ordering them and bringing them with me on the truck. I also brought corn dogs. Let me show you how I do this. So these corn dogs, they come in, oh my goodness, that's got tons of frost on it. They come in these huge boxes. So I take them out, and they're individually wrapped. I take them out of the boxes and I put them in 1-gallon Ziploc baggies so that they take up a lot less space. So I've got I have 2 bags full of those corn dogs. So I've got the freezer in the little factory refrigerator full of those. Let me get this water cleaned up here. So I've got the corn dogs, the burritos, and this is a bag of pretzels that have peanut butter inside of them. This is like $10 for this massive thing. It came in a huge plastic container, and I took them out of the huge plastic container and put them in a 1-gallon Ziploc bag. I put a lot of stuff in 1-gallon Ziploc bags. So let me show you something else that I put. This is a little frozen meals that I make. Chicken, May 20-something, 2025. I try to put what it is, because once it gets frozen, sometimes it can be hard to tell what's in there. And I put the date that I put in there, and I keep it frozen, so it'll last basically forever. But these are the little containers that I buy, and I put food in here. I'll put like beans or chicken or dirty rice, whatever I decide to cook. But I have a freezer full of those things. Something else I decided, this is the first time I've ever tried this. I made baked potatoes, and then I put them in little Ziploc baggies. So these things are baked. They are completely done baked potatoes. And I'm going to see what it's like once they're reheated after being frozen. And maybe that's going to become a new staple for me in the truck. And bear with me here while I put this stuff back in here in the freezer. There's one other thing I was going to show you. I'm trying to remember where I put them. Oh, here they are. So, because I have the induction cooktop, the thing that I brought with me to try with the induction cooktop is ramen noodles. So, I took the ramen noodles out of the box they come in, and I put them in a 1 gallon. I use a lot of Ziploc baggies. I have mainly 2 sizes of baggies, and I have lots of them. I have quart, and I have gallon. These are the gallon Ziploc baggies. So I have several of these baggies of ramen noodles. So I have tons and tons of food in the truck. But these pretzels, oh my goodness, these things are awesome. I'll just grab a handful of them, set them down on the table. I'm going to seal this back up, get as much air out of it as I can, and then put this bag back into the freezer. So there's a section in the freezer that doesn't get quite as cold as the other sections. You don't want to put frozen food in it, but it's great for keeping things cold. So that's where I put typically snacks that I want cold. And they're not frozen, they're just really like ice box cold. That salty from the pretzel, and then that peanut butter, oh, it works so well together. So yeah, I need to figure out what I'm in the mood for eating. Do I want to eat some corn dogs? I'm not in the mood for burritos, so I'm thinking corn dogs, or do I have any food that's going to expire soon? I don't think I brought any food that just needs regular refrigeration that's going to expire in a short amount of time. I brought a couple of containers of cheese. I don't have any particular plan for them, but I do have crackers, and last time I ate an entire package of cheese, just cheese and crackers. And I brought some butter. I brought 2 sticks of butter for the potatoes. So yeah, I don't think I have any food that is like time sensitive. I did bring tortilla shells, and I have no plan on what I'm going to use those for. I just noticed that tortilla shells have a shelf life of like 2 or 3 months. And so that's a bread alternative. Bread, I don't typically bring bread on the truck because it's usually only good for 1 to 2 weeks. And that's if it's fresh. Like if it's been sitting on the shelf at the store for a week, then it's not going to last very long in the truck. So I brought tortilla shells, and that gives me the option of like having sandwiches in the truck. Because instead of doing a sandwich with bread, I could do like a wrap. And I could bring, some type of sandwich materials, lettuce, tomato, onion. I bring onions with me on the truck all the time. That's something I started doing a couple of years ago. I brought a cutting board with a knife with me, and I just bring a bag of onions, and I'll cut them up, put them in a Ziploc baggie, and then I will use my little spray bottle. This is 91% isopropyl alcohol in my spray bottle, and I'll use that and a paper towel to clean the knife and clean the cutting board. That is good. So yeah, I'm going to install the inverter, kill the fly, and then figure out what I'm going to eat and watch movies, play video games. There's a TV show that I started watching. There's a TV show that I just finished watching. All right, I love sci-fi. I love mysteries. I love thrillers. And there was a TV show. I was trying to find a TV show or a movie or something to watch. And I was reading through all kinds of stuff, trying to find one. And I saw some recommendations on a really good sci-fi mystery thriller. Was this TV show called 1899. So I watched that, and it is really good. Like, it was a really good TV show. I think Netflix is the one that paid for it to be done, and Netflix canceled it after one season. So they didn't get to finish the show. So if you're the type of person that you can't stand TV shows that don't wrap up, it was planned for 3 seasons. They were going to do the first season to kind of set the stage. The second season was going to be like, I don't know what they call it in movie land, but there's terminology that they have for the different like acts within shows and movies and stuff like that. And then the last season, the third season, was supposed to be the big reveal where they like kind of close the loops on all the plot points and stuff like that and explain all of the mysteries. So it really sucks that TV show got canceled after one season, because it was a pretty good TV show, and it ended on a cliffhanger. And so I was looking for another TV show similar to that after I finished that one. It was only one season. And I found another one called Foundation. And so far, it seems pretty good. I'm not a big fan with Hollywood just kind of shoving their woke ideology down my throat with, like, every, lead character, every good person in the TV show or movie has to be a black female. So yeah, it's extremely woke, where like Hollywood is just pushing their ideology onto you. But if you can look past that political agenda, it's actually a good show. It has, some pretty decent acting, good writing, good script, a pretty good story. So yeah, it's I'm enjoying it. I think I'm on like episode 7 of season 1, and I want to say that it goes for like 3 to 5 seasons. So that's what I'm going to be watching for the next couple of weeks. It's an Apple TV thing. I don't pay for Apple TV. I pirate it. So if you're a pirate like me, then go to the reddit.com/r/piracy. The piracy subreddit. They have links to websites where you can just stream anything you want. You can watch any Netflix show or movie, any Apple TV, any Amazon Prime, anything you can think of, you can find on there and stream it for free. Now, some of the old shows that aren't very popular, old movies, they can be very difficult to find, but new, like, popular stuff, really easy to find. And I'm still wanting to see that F1 movie. They have it on there, but it's like somebody recorded it with their phone or something in a movie theater. I'm waiting until there's an actual digital rip of it. I don't want to like ruin an experience of watching a movie for the first time with the audio and video quality being crap. So actually, I'm going to check and see if they have a good version of F1 yet, because I heard that's a decent movie. I'm going to check that out. But that's what's going on with me today. So we're going to get the inverter installed. I'm thirsty after eating these pretzels, so I'm going to pour a cup of milk. And yep, that's my milk cup. I need to pour some in there. So get some milk, get something to drink, finish these pretzels, install the inverter, kill the fly, figure out what I'm going to eat, and figure out what I'm going to watch. Whether I'm going to continue watching Foundation, or maybe watch F1. So anyway, hope you're having a great week. I've got 3 or 4 days I'm going to be camped out here in Terrell, Texas at the TA, just hanging out, enjoying life. And I've got a good parking spot in the front row. They have all of the fuel islands shut down. I don't know what they're doing. They're doing some kind of work, I think. I don't know what's going on. I don't see people actually I do. Some of the fuel, I'm looking at a fuel pump right now that has the front case open. So they have the door open on the fuel pump where you can see all the electronics behind it. So they're doing some kind of work on the fuel island. There's some like pickup trucks, some work trucks parked around the fuel island, but they have like, I think every single fuel pump is shut down right now. I think their fuel islands are completely closed. I don't think you can get fuel in Terrell, Texas at the TA right now. And it's been like this all day long. They have cones and like caution tape blocking off the entire fuel island, both sides. They might have one pump open. I don't think they do, but they might maybe have one pump open. But anyway, have a good one, and I don't think I'm gonna make it. Maybe I'll do a load board video between now and when I pick up the load, and then once I pick the load up, I'll do some driving videos. And I'm gonna try to do daytime driving videos, even though I don't like driving during the day. I try to drive at night, but I'll try to get some daytime driving footage. So have a good one. Bye.